Welcome everybody to our webinar today. We're going to talk about the basic features of AG5. You will see the system. We're going to go live into one of our repositories so I can show you how it looks, how it feels, what you can do in there. And then of course, self-assessment is an advanced feature which we want to showcase today to explain to you how it works, what you can do with it, and how does it look from the different perspective, or from the manager perspective who is sending the assessment or requesting it, and then also from the employee perspective who needs to fill it out. You see the chat is open, so of course, if you want to have any questions or remarks, just put it in there. Before we start and jump in, a few words to myself. You can see here a picture. My name is Stefan Schneider. I'm originally from Germany, as you can hear probably on my accent and by my really German sounding name. I'm an onboarding specialist here at AG5, and my task is to take new customers by the hand and make sure that they are set up for success. You will get a training for AG5, of course. We're gonna get your data into the system. And when you're all set and you feel like, hey, okay, I understand how AG5 works, then I'm going to release you into the wild, and then you can start using it. But then at AG5, even after the onboarding, you of course still have your customer success manager who can support you. The webinar today, you can see here, we have roughly scheduled 50 minutes for the session itself and the following QA session. But of course, if you have questions throughout the webinar, you can put them into the chat. I'll try to answer them right away. Otherwise, we have the Q&A. And if any questions are unanswered, then you will get an email from us afterwards to go into detail to answer your questions. And of course, you will receive the slides, and you also will receive a recording of the webinar, so you can share it with your colleagues and whoever needs to make any decisions, and you can rewatch it if you want to. So before we start, open poll. Of course, AG5, right, we are skills software, skills management software, so I'm super curious to hear, how do you actually currently managing your skills? Is it classic Excel or spreadsheets that you're using? Maybe you're using already a similar software. Do you have an HR system in place or an LMS? Maybe it's a combination of everything or something completely different. Please just fill it out. It would be nice for me to see, just to make sure that we are more or less on the same page and what you can get out of it. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so this is actually nice because you have a lot of people that are using currently Excel, which of course something like AG5 is then ideal for you, but we also have multiple people who are using LMS, which means it's a learning management system. Of course, during the basic training, I cannot get into much detail about it, but we do have multiple integrations available for different LMS that can communicate with AG5 in different ways. And for the people who are coming with an LMS, maybe you want to reach out and set up a demo with one of our specialists. So what will you learn by the end of the webinar? You will, of course, understand the basic features of AG5, and you will understand what are the core components that make AG5 run. We want to see how we can manage employees and skills in AG5. How can you set up a training, and how can we define requirements in AG5? So why does somebody need to be trained? Maybe because it's of their job role, maybe it's because of a specific department they're part of, right? So those are all different decisions we can make and requirements we can put into place why somebody needs to have a specific training, certificate, or skill. And then, of course, third place, we want to see how can employees report their own skills, how can they upload documents, and how can they request manager approval for their self-assessment. If you have not heard about AG5 and what we're doing, you can see here a nice overview what our main mission is. Of course, we are a skills management software. That means we want to help you close your skill gaps and to visualize your skill gaps. We want to give you the tools by your hand to make sure that your workforce is always, ideally, of course, 100% compliant, that you meet all the goals, that everybody knows what they are doing and why they have to be trained in something. And that's, of course, super important nowadays that you, first of all, use your workforce most efficient, that you can have the resources of your company well aligned, and that you make sure that, again, everybody is compliant and that you pass the audits, right? The basic training for today, to understand what we're going to talk about, we first have to have a look at the key concepts from AG5. You can see here on the left side our 4 key concepts, or not specifically ours, general for your skills management, and you are the skills management professional, so of course you know this. First and foremost, the employees, that's what we are tracking. We want to make sure that your workforce is trained. Then the second part is the skills, and skills in this case is a little bit of an umbrella term, because skills stands more or less for everything that you want to track in the system. This could be, for example, skills, could be a specific training, could also be a certificate, right? Anything that you need to make sure and you need to have an eye on that an employee can do their job, that they have achieved a specific training or certificate that you can track in AG5. And then the requirements, I mentioned it a minute ago. Why does somebody need to be trained? Now you can see here on the right side, there's a typical matrix as you can find it in AG5. You can see Noah, for example, he's part of team A. And this could be already the reason. Noah needs to be trained and operate machine A because he's part of team A. And this, of course, makes it super easy for you if you have a new employee joining your workforce. You can say, hey, you are joining team A, and then AG5 automatically knows that everybody in team A need to be trained in operate machine A, production line setup, right? So all the skills you can see here on the left side of the matrix, and it makes it easy for you to make sure that that person gets trained. And then the last key concept, the last part, of course, is the results. You can see in the middle of the matrix, you want to make sure when is somebody trained, maybe for how long the training is valid. Do they need to be retrained after 1 or 2 years, right? First aid is a great example. They need to be retrained every couple of years. We can send out reminders automatically if somebody needs to be retrained. So we always have a good and great overview of the current status, but we can also look ahead. This is the content of today's basic training or the webinar that is based on. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. We want to manage our employees. We would want to manage the skills. Then we want to put skills in our skill libraries and understand what are skill libraries used at AG5, what is their purpose. We want to have a look at our organizational structures. And an organizational structure can be literally anything we want to base requirements on. For example, a team structure, department structure, maybe a shift structure, right? Anything that you want to build requirements on. And then we want to create a matrix from scratch. We want to have a look at it. How does the matrix feel? How can we set it up? How can we add results in our matrix? And how can we manage our skill compliance to make sure that I have a great overview on one glance, ideally, of course, if my workforce is compliant, how much is still missing. And then, of course, right, we don't want to forget our self-assessment. And this is actually an advanced feature from AG5. And advanced in this means in this context that it's more than a basic understanding from the system. It's just something additional that you have the chance to use. And yeah, with this being said, I think let's jump right into our AG5 system. For everybody who did not yet had the chance to see how AG5 looks, if you log in for the first time, this is what you see. This is your dashboard that you can see. You have the matrices that are set up and that are put into place. You can see here on top something that's already a little bit similar, like the key concepts. But before we start with it, I want to guide your eyes here to the right side, where you can see my initials. If I open this one up, you can see the help section, and the help section is your best friend because there you can literally see all the articles from AG5. It explains to you everything. It takes you by your hand, right? You can see here, for example, getting started with AG5. So it helps you set everything up. You also see our release notes, so what we're currently working on and just released, but also a roadmap to see, hey, what is coming in the future. But of course, in the beginning, most important for you would be the basic help center. So, and first part, of course, for our basic training was the management of our employees. You can see here on top our employees tab. I open it up, and this is just a flat list of all our employees. You can also differentiate between active and ended. And ended in this case means that they're not part of your active workforce anymore, but maybe because of audit reasons and reporting reasons, you want to keep track of them, and you want to make sure that we have all the results still in the system and that you can pull them up at any given time. If we want to look, for example, at one of the employees, maybe let's look at Ryan. Let's see, it's a good example. Yes, perfect. So we have Ryan Anderson here, that's an employee. You can see here in the top part the basic HR data that you can either fill out manually, or of course, if there's an active integration running, we can also map the fields that it's automatically filled out for you, that you don't have to worry about it. If there's an integration, for example, with an HR system from SAP, or if you create a new employee there, it can run over automatically to AG5. That is something we can set up. Here at the bottom, we see our position field, and position in this case is a little bit of an umbrella term because this is everything you can find in the organizational structure. You can see here where we are basing on the requirements on, which are shown here on the right side. I can see he's working on the Laser Fusion Pro series, a specific machine. He's part of logistics team 1, and his role is a logistics expert level 1. And then if I go here to the right side, I can see a summary of all the active or all the training requirements that he has. And if I open the position field up, I can even see which position actually is giving us what requirements or how many, right? I can see, for example, part logistics team 1, 7 requirements are coming from. We can see this here. And from those 7 requirements, he already achieved 6 and 1 is still green. No, he has 6 open and 1 is already achieved, the green one. And the requirement, right, could be a skill, it could be a training, it could be a certificate, anything that you want to keep track of. And if I scroll down a little bit more, I can see all the results from the employee in one long list. Of course, I can still see where the specific results are coming from or the requirements. I can see, for example, here, this skill is required of him because he's part of the logistics grouping, logistics expert 1. If I scroll down, this is coming from his team. And I don't know if we have anything for the machine. Here, machine line basic, that's a skill that's coming from the specific machine that he's assigned to. Right, so this is a nice combination of different organizational structures that we have. It's a team, it's a job role, but it's also a specific machine, a product line, right? You could also have shifts, for example, in here, or anything you want to set up. And how we're going to set this up, I'm going to show you in a minute. But before we continue, I want to show you here the attachments tab, because that's always important and nice. We have the possibility to add attachments to an employee. Direct attachments could be anything that is relevant for him to do their job, but was maybe acquired before they joined your workforce. Could be a driver's license. Maybe he has to have to drive a forklift, right? You could upload the forklift driver's license here. Maybe you could upload his CV, anything that you feel like you need to have at one glance. And then if you have an audit, for example, and they say, hey, can Ryan do this and that? You have everything in one place. You don't have to go through multiple systems. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable. And here at the bottom, attachment links to a skill result. This would be, for example, if they get trained on the job now while they're already with your company and you want to upload a certificate for them for a specific achievement, or maybe they're using the mobile app where you can digitally sign that they were maybe trained on the machine on the shop floor. And then you would also see this here at the bottom that a specific upload, a specific attachment relates to a specific skill. If you want to change something, you can click, of course, here on the edit button. You can fill out the basic HR data in here. I don't think we have to go through everything individually here. You know how it works. One thing I want to point out, if you would want to change the position field here, right, you can simply click here on edit, and then you can make sure, hey, maybe he's moving from team 1 to machine team 2, right, and then you can just choose here where is he going, and then you can make the changes. Team 3, or we don't even have a team 2, right? Can take team 1 away. Now I click on save. And then you also already saw here on the right side, it changed the setup of the requirements for Ray, because he's now part of logistics team 3, and he now has a different set of requirements. However, and this is something, a question I get sometimes during the onboardings, even if a skill is not required anymore, but it's still valid, the result and the track record of that training is of course still here. Because only because Ryan changes from job A to job B within the company does not mean that he's losing the different results for his skill. Right. So if, for example, he wants to jump back at some point, or the audit is coming up, then you can say, hey, Ryan was actually a certified quality inspector back in the day, so he could do his job and everything is fine. The next thing we want to have a look at is the skills tab here, right next to the employees. Um, if we click here, we can jump between the skill list, a flat list, and the skill library. Skill library we're going to have a talk about in a minute. However, first I want to go with you through the skill list. Again, it's a flat list. You can also change it between active skills and inactive skills. An inactive skill could be, for example, something seasonal that you're not using anymore. Maybe a machine that is not in the production floor anymore. Maybe it's an older version of the skill where you say, hey, that's the skill we want to keep track of everybody who was trained in it, but nobody should be trained anymore new, right? So we can turn it into inactive. If we have a look at one skill, for example, let's say composite aerospace wire and cable, on one glance, I can see here already, hey, this is a skill that needs to be retrained after 1 year. Therefore, the system can remind us and can send out emails and warnings that says, hey, employee or hey, manager, right? So depending who we want to set up in that workflow, we can say, hey, please be aware, your skill is about to run out. Please take action and get retrained. If we click into the skill itself, you can already see it looks a little bit similar to what we saw on the employee portfolio page. On the top part, we have the basic skill data that we can see here. We have the skill name, we have a skill code that we can use this, we have a rating scale. In this case, it's an achieved and failed rating scale, but of course we can create rating scales whatever we want. We can achieve, failed, multiple levels, or we can customize this. We can even go into the system and give per skill, per level, an individual description. What does it actually mean if they achieve level 1 on a specific skill, right? We can create skill types from scratch, and this is something that might be handy for you if you want to sort your skills in your list, for example. Could be an internal training, external training, could be a shop floor training, right? Anything that would make your life in skills management a little bit easier. Skill description here, in this case, of course, there's nothing filled out. Maybe it's a bad example. If I open the edit button up, we can add the skill description. So we can, for example, say, see more information here. And this could be, for example, a hyperlink to one of your shared folders. Could be a hyperlink to something where they can find training documentation, literally anything that you would want to. If I click now and save, you can see the description is here with my hyperlink to AG5, right? Again, you can use whatever page you want. The next part we can see is the warning period and the validity period, and this does actually go hand in hand. So this means for how long is my skill valid until I need to be retrained, and how many months, in this case in advance, do I want to be reminded that my skill is running out, right? So we can say in this case 3 months, 1 month, you can days, years, or whatever makes sense for you, you can put in here. And we have 2 warnings that you can see in the system. The first one would be in the matrix itself. It would change to a bell icon that I can show you later in the matrix. That's the first visual indicator that makes you aware, hey, there's something about to change. And in this case, 3 months in advance, it would change to that bell icon. And of course, I talked about it already a few times. We can set up a system where AG5 sends an email out to either the employee, to the manager, whoever you want to put in charge in this case, that warns, hey, this skill is about to run out. Please take action. Then, of course, we have the training duration, we have the training's cost, anything you want to or need to report to. At the bottom here, skill categories, we can see where in our skill library is that skill actually showing up. And the skill library, you can imagine, is a little bit like the folders you can see on your desktop computer, right? So you have multiple folders where you can put your files in just to organize yourself and to make it a little bit easier to find something that you need instead of going through 500 skills and to search, hey, what skill do I actually need? but it's for you to make your life a little bit easier. Then here, next part would be our level, right? So we can see here, level description is not in here. We can change this if we would want to. In this case, it's actually where we have also dependencies. So we say, hey, you need to be trained in specific skills that are attached to that main skill here. And then here at the bottom, I have an overview of all the different employees that are affected and touched by that skill in any way. But I can see, for example, Ruben, he was trained, but is expired currently. I can see that Faye, she's a production specialist. She needs to be trained in. It's required, but she's not yet required in it. And then so I can go through the whole list. I can see all my different employees. I can see what is valid but not required anymore. But I can also see, do we have one that's valid still? Oh yeah, here, Linus, for example, he's currently trained and it's still valid till the 26th next year in April. So he will get then 3 months in advance, would be January, is when we have the icon change on the matrix, and we would send out the warning to Linus, for example, that he needs to be retrained. Next thing we want to talk about is our skill library, right? So if I click on this one here, I have a skill library. And this is, as I mentioned, helps you to organize your skills. If I open this one up, I can see that we have 39 skills currently in the system here. And we have certificate, 20 skills, and we have here some more skills sorted in the category A, B, C, and D. So of course you want to know, so why do we have here 39 and here we have a little bit more? Could be, of course, that the skill shows up in multiple categories. Because what the skill library also does is being one axis of your matrix when you create it, and therefore you can assign skills to multiple libraries just to make sure maybe you can pull that library into your matrix if it's relevant for more people. If you want to create a new category in your library, it's as easy as drag and drop, right? So I can drag and drop it in here. Let's say we want to create a new one under skills and certificates, new category, and then we can say it's health and safety. And now we create a new category where we can then go and add a specific skill. So this is the flat list of all the skills that we have in the system. If there's one skill here or this skill is missing, then of course you would need to go into your skills tab here and first create a skill from scratch. But in our example here, we can just drag and drop something from our list, BHW courses. That's something like the first aid courses here in the Netherlands. And then we have attached it to our health and safety. And now if I would want to create a matrix only with health and safety, I could then choose this specific library and I could see it in that matrix. Next thing we want to talk about is our organizational tab here. And here we have our organizational structure. So that's of course a big word. What does this exactly mean? You can see here we have already organization and employees, we have roles and requirements, and we have workstation and machines. So in this case, we already set up 3 structures. One is based on the company itself, where we have the departments in there, right? So we have our logistics team. The next one would be roles and requirements, where we have job roles defined. And then the next one is the workstation and machines. We have the machines that people are assigned to. And then, of course, you can be creative. You can create a structure from scratch if you would want to, maybe based on a specific project, based on a specific, whatever would make sense for you. And then you can assign requirements. So how do you do this? Let's have a look at the organizational structure for the departments. I can see here we have our logistics and our production department, and then we can see here 21 people are part of the greater logistics department, and we have 11 skills that are assigned to as a requirement. If I open this one up, I can see we have a team 1, we have a team 3 here, which people are part of that specific team, and what skills are required of that specific team. So if I look at this one, what does it tell me? I can see here on top, logistics team 1, I have all those people here that are part of the team. You can see it here, for example, what other team they are assigned to, but this is now for the team 1. And here at the bottom, the purple one is the skill requirements that are required from all of those people here. If I would add a new requirement, I can, for example, drag and drop the BHV cursors over, and you can see here in the background where it turns gray. So this means it's only valid for the logistics team 1. If I go one level up, then you can see that the gray gets bigger because now the logistics team 1 and logistics team 3 are covered by it. And then you can see that the requirements are actually trickling down your structure, but then of course you can always limit it to one specific group. So if I drop this here now, I can see my BHV cursors is now required from all of those people. If I say, no, I don't want this for all people, I can click on this one and then I can say, you know what, first aid responder, not everybody needs to be trained. Let's maybe just say only 3 people need to be trained. And then you can see 3 of the whole group need to be trained. If we have a skill with multiple levels, I can also click on the skill and then you can see here, maybe I say, okay, I want everybody here to be trained up to a level 3. You can see this here in my little pie chart and maybe here for up to level 2. And that's how you can define the requirements for that specific team, right? So you can put in the people. First, you create your team, you put in the people, and then you put in the skills, certificates, trainings, whatever you want to put in here, the purple one from your skill list, and then you can define in this way the requirement. If you would want to create something different, an org structure from scratch, then of course you can here anytime create a new one. You can, let's say, for example, project-based. And then it's as simple as a drag and drop. Right, so we can here, for example, let's just stick here as an overview project. And then here, let's call this project A. Project A. So, and that's already how I did, right? So now we defined an org structure for project A, and then the next thing we want to do, we want to fill it with people. And if we stay, for example, with our friend Ryan, I just put Ryan in here. He's part of this team now. Let's also put our friend Kevin in. So we have a project team of 2 people. It's not the biggest project yet. Maybe it would grow in the future. And then that was the position. So I added the people. And then the next one would be the skill requirement. So what do I expect the people to be proficient in for my specific project? And here, of course, I'm just going to go and add some random requirements in here. So we have now 4 requirements based on project A. And if I go now, for example, to Kevin's or to Ryan's employee portfolio page again, I can see now he's actually part of project A. If I open this one up, I can see 4 requirements are coming into project A for Ryan. Those he still needs to be trained in. He did not achieve them yet. And here at the bottom, I can see, for example, assessment of team. Project A would be the first requirement that is here on top of his list. Are there any questions so far about anything that you see here? Of course, if you have questions, just put it in here. Maybe you saw something that you feel like, hey, this is something super helpful. That's something I want to use in AG5. And maybe you have an idea how this could improve your skills management. Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat so we can have a quick look at it. If you would make a mistake for whatever reason and you feel like, hey, Kevin doesn't need to be or Ryan doesn't need to be in the project team, you can just click on that specific button and then you can here see on the right side actually all the text for Ryan currently. So let's say, hey, Ryan, you don't need to be part of the project A. I exit away. And now he is removed. And if I would now go back to Ryan and have a look at his portfolio page, I can see project A is not there anymore, right? So it's actually super easy for you to update the requirements, to update people in your org structure. You can also just move them around. Let's say somebody would move from logistics team 1 to logistics team 2. Then you can simply just go and drag and drop them down. Same goes for the skills, right? If you say, hey, this was actually put in here by accident, it needs to go down in team 2, drag it, drop it over. Otherwise, you can also just click it and click on the little trash bin to delete it. to say, hey, it's not relevant for this team anymore. And don't be afraid, if you click on that bin here, that means you just remove that skill from that specific group. You do not delete the skill from your whole skill list. Nice. So now we created we had to look at our employee list, we had to look in our skills, right, and the skill libraries, and on our organizational tab, where we actively defined which people need to be trained in what skills and why do they need to be trained in something. So for us, then the next step, of course, would be to create a matrix. And for this, we go to the dashboard, matrices. You can see here, I can click here on the right side to create a new matrix from scratch. I can go through the flat list, which is just a long list of literally everything, or you can go into the tree list, which helps you a little bit more to sort it through. And we could go now and say project A, you only have one person in here, so it would be theoretically, or let's just have a quick look at it. It will be a very small matrix, of course. I can click on next. And then the system asks you to choose your skill library that you want to use. And now you run into the issue that you maybe not know, hey, in which library is that specific skill actually? So in this case, you could just say, hey, let's choose the overarching skills and certificates library that has all our skills in here, because we have the option in the next window or the next step to say, from all those 40 skills, please show only the ones where is a requirement put into place, which means if that skill shows up in that org structure, only then show me that skill in my matrix, right? So it makes it a little bit easier for you to manage this. I click on save, and now we're gonna have one employee in our matrix with all those different skills in here that we defined. Next part, of course, that we want to have a look at is the self-assessment. And for this, we want to play it a little bit through, and you have to bear with me because we're going to jump around a little bit more to see the different perspective of people, because we're also going to touch upon different access rights now a little bit. So first, of course, if you as an admin wants to send out the self-assessment, that's also fine. You can do the same steps as the manager would do right now. Then you need to approve the self-assessment. And that is something you need to be aware of. The person who is sending out and requesting the self-assessment is also the person who has to approve the assessment of the employee. In this case, we have a quick look at logistics team 1. This is our matrix. We can see all the different employees in here, all kinds of open requirements, right? So this is, for example, something that tells us, hey, Lente or needs to be trained in something. Up to level 3, you can see that blue frame around it. That is the definition of a requirement in place. Then, of course, you also have the red pie chart here. And by the way, this here for Kevin, you can see all those skills that he has here are currently skills that are about to run out. So he's trained in it, but it will be expiring soon. If you want to understand more about the different symbols in your matrix, you can always go here on the right side and open up the details page where you have all the different symbols and icons that it can show up and what they mean. So if you would want to add a result, by the way, in your matrix, you can simply click on that specific field for that skill, and you can say, hey, it's required of them. I want to add a result. You can upload a certificate if you want to, and then you can click on save. And now we can see, hey, we just added the result in here. If I have a quick look now at the employee portfolio page, I can see here that it was added. What is today? This is probably this one was added just now, and it's valid till next year. And if I open this one up, I can also see all kinds of details. Who added this? What was the reason before that? Right, so the track record, who's doing what in the system is always there. I have my skills here on top, I have my people on the left side, and now if you remember the matrix you saw on the beginning of the webinar, you saw that it was the other way around, that you had the employees on top and the skills on the left side. That's of course something you can easily change around, whatever is more comfortable for you to look at. If you want to have quick insights for skill gap analysis to see, hey, how is my company or how is my team doing? You have the Insights button here, View and Insights, which is really, really great for you to see your compliance rate based on that specific team. You can see how much people need to be still trained on, and I can see how it goes over time. If I scroll a bit more down, I can see, hey, which of my skills are the ones that are have a little bit more issues, or no, let's not say issues, that are a little bit need to be trained more. Which skills are the ones we have the highest compliance rate? And I can also scroll down and do the same for the people, for my employees. Who of the employees are the one that have the highest number of compliant results? Who's trained the best? And who has some room for improvement? Who needs to be trained a little bit more? But that's a really, really great high-level overview for you to see, hey, how's my team doing? Of course, you can also take out the filter here, and then you can see how's my company overall doing. You can filter for all kinds of different matrices here that you have in the system. You can also change the period of time where you want to look at to make sure that the graphs that you can see here in the dashboard have the most value for you. So, but let's go to our self-assessment. We want to have a look at the logistics team 1, and I as an admin, of course, I can see everything in the system. And in this case, we say now that this employee, John Cho, he is actually the manager of that specific team. So he should have access to his team only, his people, his skills. He doesn't need to see any other of those matrices. So how can we do this? In this case, we gave John Cho limited access to only his own portfolio page. And then you can see here this little share button. We shared that specific matrix with John Cho as an editor. And what this does, it creates a little bubble for John Cho that is has all the employees and all the skills that are part of that matrix for him to access. And to show you how this looks, I'm going to use this feature, act as a proxy user, and I'm going to go and see, hey, what does John actually see when he logs in? So if John opens up AG5, this is what he sees, right? You can see, hey, all the different matrices, they're gone. And why are they gone? Because they're none of his business. He doesn't need to see the matrices from the other departments. So he only sees that one matrix that is shared with him. Same goes for the employee list. He doesn't see all the employees anymore. He only sees those employees that are part of that specific matrix. So, and I, as John Cho, I say, no, hey, I want to have a self-assessment for my team, maybe once per year, maybe quarterly, right? Maybe AG5 is set up new, and you say, hey, let's start fresh and have a self-assessment to get the results in. Right? So, all valid reasons why we could do this. And for me, I can see only my employees. So I just click that little icon here on top to choose them all. And then I have the Actions button here where I can request a self-assessment. I have to put in a name, of course. Let's say self-assessment Q2 because we're in the second quarter. And then here, content library, I can choose specific skills if I'd want to. But in this case, then I would literally go and click through all those different skills in here. Or I can make my life a little bit easier. I can say libraries. And then let's just say, okay, I know this is the overarching library for everything. Then I can choose theoretically this library for all the skills. Otherwise, if I know that, for example, my employees are only using skills out of the library from skill category A, then I could theoretically choose this one instead of the big one. But in our case, let's say we choose the big one because I want to show you a specific feature. So in this case, you would theoretically send a request for a self-assessment for all those 40 skills. However, if I use this little button here, it says, hey, filter that skills from that library based on requirements, for example, or if we have like a soft requirement where we say X amount of people, like the behavior courses, for example, then we also want them to rate it in this. But the most important part is here, the required ones, because what this do is automatically filters down all those 40 skills only to those that are relevant for that specific employee. So I can click on next. I can fill this out. Sorry, I have the email template automatically filled out from AG5. And then I can click on next. and then I can see it will be sent. Of course, in this case, we have a lot of fake accounts in our demo environment, so you can see those will not be sent. However, Kevin, that is the demo account that I'm going to show you now, how it looks from an employee point of view. I can click on send or save, and then you can see, hey, those self-assessment requests are created, they are sent to the employee. And that's so for all that I have to do as the manager. Next step for us would be to have a look at Kevin, because he just got a self-assessment request. So again, I click here on the top right button, act as a proxy user. Let's have a quick look at Kevin. And here you can already see, hey, that looks a little bit different again. It looks different to what I see as an admin. It looks different to what John sees as the manager. Because what Kevin does, he has only access to his own My Portfolio page. You can also see here, for example, he does not have the right to actively put results for himself on his own portfolio page. This is, of course, something that's adjustable. If you say, no, we want to have our employees to want to give them the chance to rate or put this in themselves, then maybe we can put an approval system into place that John showed. The manager needs to approve those changes. That's also possible, right? So there are different access rights that we can use. But you can see here at the top, self-assessment, there's one open. Self-assessment Q2, that's one that I just received. 0% complete. I open it one up, and then you can see 20 reviewed. So out of those 40 skills, in this case, he only needs to rate him for 20. And here you can simply go through, right? He can rate themselves. If they would want to, they can add something, maybe a certificate that they achieved, maybe a remark that I want to. I did a great job. Right, and so I can go through all the different skills. I could save it and continue later if I need to stop, or I could also say, hey, I'll just send it this way with only 6 in here, which I'm going to do now, so it's a little bit faster. And then I can see from Kevin's point of view, this is what is sent, and this is what is waiting for approval. So this is what the employee does. And now, of course, sorry, we have to jump around a little bit again. We want to see what John sees, because he's the one who needs to approve this, of course. And this is something you would want to typically do maybe in a one-on-one session with the employee, so you can discuss the results. You can see here in the top right corner that little icon that looks like an eye. And I can see here there's one self-assessment that needs to be approved. I click it. I can see this is the one that was just sent today, 15th of May. And I can see it is from Ryan. He is the one who filled it out. So I can see here all my different self-assessments. And then I can go through them and see, okay, what did you do? Do you need to be approved or not? Let's see, which one was this? Yeah. So I can see waiting for self-assessment, where the ones that he approved. Is this the correct one? Complete. Okay. This is the one that is not submitted yet from him. Okay, sorry. Let me see where the ones are to approve from him. Let's jump back into Ryan. Sorry, let's jump back into Kevin because he's the one who sent the self-assessment. Sent to Josh, waiting for approval. Not applicable. Okay, so he sent it here with 6 to approve. So this would be the one that would end up then at Josh's. Sorry, that's always the tricky part with the live webinar, right? We have here our self-assessment that needs to be approved. This is the one that we just sent today. Yeah. Not submitted, email not sent, Ryan. Oh, sorry, waiting for approval. I think I look. Yeah, sorry. I clicked into the wrong one. I clicked on the wrong name. So Kevin, he's the one who sent it, of course. So I can see here the different skills, how we rated him. I can say he says, okay, I achieved it. So I can say me as a manager now in the one-on-one session, I can say, yes, Kevin, I approve your skill. I think your communication is great. I can thank your quality inspector. You said you're level 3. However, I think you're maybe only level 1, so I'm going to override this one. Right, so I can go into the one-on-one session with my employee and talk them through, and then I can click on save and approve them. We can click on save, and that's pretty much it. And now if the employee would go on their portfolio page, they can see that those are, their own results, that they're valid and that they're approved. And you can also see, if you want to have a quick look at Kevin again, I can see that my skill results are approved. Let me see if we have something. Which one was it? Was it this one that we just put in here? Approved by John Cho, right? So if you send it out, that's something I wanted to show. You can see here that there was a self-assessment happening from Kevin himself. He assessed his own capability, and the manager actually approved it. So this is super important for audits, that you can have this whole history, who did what and when something happened. So you can make sure that everything is compliant with the different requirements. Great. I think that's pretty much sums it up for the webinar. Let's jump back in here. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you will get, of course, the slides in the recording of this one, of the webinar. You will also find links here to this, to the help center from AG5 for support. You can reach out to the support, of course. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. Now is the official time for you to ask something for the Q&A. I hope this is information that you can use. Maybe let me ask you a question if there's nothing coming from you. Is anything that you saw here where you can say, hey, this is something that can really help me and that can improve my skills management or the way we are working at our company? Do you think the self-assessment feature is something that could be helpful for you? Please let me know, share it with us in the chat, because that would be fine. There's a question from one of the participants. Can you bulk upload to update skills and data using Excel or CSV? Yes. So you directly or personally, not. However, during the onboarding, we transform your Excel sheets for you in AG5, that you put it into the system together, that you can see your org structures or your matrices the way you're used to them in AG5. And then afterwards, you have a CSM, a customer success manager, who can help you to bulk upload data. And then, of course, if you have something like an automated integration with the CSV upload as an SFTP server, then this is also something that can be done. So yeah, bulk uploading from data, of course, is doable. Nobody expects you to manually create 500 skills, right? I think neither you nor I would want to do that. So yeah, we can bulk upload, of course. But that's a good question. Are there any other questions from the participants? Are you currently using self-assessment? Something similar currently at your company? Is this something that you thought about, maybe implement in the future? Of course, let me know, share your thoughts. That's why we're here. If you do not have any other questions, then let's continue. I want to point out that you can always book an intro session with one of our sales reps. They're more than happy to show you the ins and outs of AG5. We can even set you up for custom pilot, where we can already bulk upload some of your data, of course, not all of it, but some of the data into the system. Okay, I see a question. I'll get to this in a second. Yeah, right. So we can set up a custom pilot with you where you can bulk upload some of your data into the system, and then you can test it. We can have sessions to talk through the requirements and what you need. Of course, there's always something. So feel free to reach out to us to book a session. So, and then we have another question. Could we integrate with an LMS like Moodle and skills to be updated automatically if the participant completed a course? Yes, that's a possibility. That's a really great question, actually. We have multiple ways to communicate with an LMS. For example, right, if the assignment of the trainings curriculum can happen through AG5, and then if something in the LMS is achieved, that then you also automatically get the achievement in AG5. So there are multiple ways to connect into an LMS, and we have all kinds of integration. We are a certified SAP partner, for example, but you pointed out Moodle. We also have an integration with Moodle. So yes, that's possible. In this case, I would really highly recommend maybe book an intro for free. Of course, reach out to them and say, hey, this is what we have. This is what we would want to see. Can you tell us how that would work in that specific case? That's a great question. Yeah. Great. Then, last but not least, of course, I want to thank you all for your time today. You have now the chance to rate this webinar and to give us some feedback. Was it interesting for you? Was it entertaining? Would you join the webinar again? Of course, we are always really interested to hear what you think and how you liked it. And if you want, you can get in contact with us. And I would be, of course, super happy if I would see maybe one or two of the names that I can see here in the participant list in a future onboarding, right? That would be great. And yeah, feel free to give us feedback. We're always curious to hear what people think, so we can, of course, improve not only the webinars, but our processes in general. Yes, I think that's it for today. Thanks again for all of your time. I don't know which time zone you're currently in, but here in the Netherlands, it's time for lunch. So yeah, thank you so much for joining today and for your great questions. I wish you all a pleasant day and hope to see you soon in onboarding. And good luck with your skills management.